How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be talking about graphic design, freelancing, portfolio, building a community, and a few other things that are, some common threads and things that I wanted to talk about within this industry. Got us kind of in a more comfier setup today. That way it's not as serious, and I'm trying out this little handheld mic. First and foremost, I was recently inspired by this YouTuber, 2YN or Sin. I think it's Synthetic, but it's with a 2. I was recently inspired by them because they have they're dedicated to making everything on brand, I guess is how I would say it. Their whole aesthetic is white and this light like lavender and purple, and even products that I didn't think were made in that color. And I was thinking, I love the color orange, put the heavy rollers up, shout out Aaron Draplin. And I was like, you know what? I want to start buying more stuff in this color. So we got the orange XLR cable, orange foam cover, and I'm rocking the orange Crocs. So shout out Crocs. Even got the out Nalgene. So I was like, if it's available, I'm going to start buying things in the color that I like instead of just black or whatever. Tangent aside, welcome to some candid thoughts from a graphic designer. And one of the first things I wanted to talk about is working from home and kind of the lack of collaboration and community that can bring sometimes. I think that working from home is one of the most valuable things for being a freelancer. As a freelance graphic designer myself, I love the freedom to work when I want, record videos like this, work on freelance projects, all in the comfort of my own home office. And I just wanted to put the pros out there in the front because these other caveats that may be negative, I don't think overweigh them quite. However, there is something I really do miss about that studio environment or that agency environment or even working in-house as a designer. I think COVID gave us that freedom of, remote work and working from home and Zoom calls and this and that. But it also took away some of that collaboration and community. And I think as designers, we're in such an isolated environment all the time, working or doing research or editing, whatever it may be, that we need to find community and collaboration outside of just our main workforce. And that's something that I realized was mad important. Like the people that I talk to on social media who are in this design world that I consider my friends, or they're almost like your coworkers, the people that on Instagram or whatever. Shout out to them. They know who they are. And that sense of community has helped with the kind of day-to-day being a little more isolated and bored because everything's just created independently. And it's nice to talk to other people who understand what you're going through. I have this group chat now with a bunch of design friends. Shout out to all those people that are in that little design group chat with me. And it's really cool to talk about, get feedback on your work, talk about sponsorship stuff now that we're in the more like design creator space, talk about pricing, and it just talk about things that other people either wouldn't understand or don't really care about. You don't want to bore your other IRL friends about contracts and invoices and typefaces and this and that. So I encourage all of you who are in this design world, especially if you're working from home and you don't have other people to collaborate with or bounce ideas off of in like a workplace environment, start a Discord, start a group chat, start something on Instagram, reach out to the people, not only that you look up to, because you don't know if it's super some unattainable person, you're not going to get in a group chat with Draplin or whatever, but reach out to people that you feel like are your colleagues, I guess, for lack of a better word, or someone that where you feel like you're all on the same level and growing together, and, learn from each other, teach each other, and just at the very least, make some friends. I think friendship and community is important in this design world. And it's something that I don't know if I'm projecting, but I feel like a lot of us are lacking. At least I was. I feel like I have a good amount of friends in other spaces, but this has been a great kind of expansion to that, One thing that can help with that co-working thing is collaborating with people digitally, like in this, and they don't even have to be design. I recently did a collaboration with shout out Kelsey from the Yellow Button, this amazing creator who does stuff around music and playlists and just all kinds of like just music nerd stuff. Basically, we did a hardcore playlist because we're both into hardcore music, and we created this cool playlist. And she did a write up for it, and I did the album art. And even that, it's not two designers collaborating, but it's two creatives coming together from different worlds and using their skill set together to create something cool. And I thought that was really fun, and stuff like that is cool. Reach out to your friends who do other crafts and see how you can build each other up, and to collaborate not only in a social media sense or on a platform, but creative standpoint, like just to make something and put it out into the world. And speaking of community or groups of things to participate in outside of just being designers, like, yeah, you want that group of friends that's designers and people you can bounce ideas off of, but I think it's also good to get into a different community and bring your design skills or taste or whatever to that. Like, be a part of the community that you want to be in. So one of the things that I've been really getting back into lately is the hardcore scene since I moved back over to my hometown, and I'm trying to be a lot more involved in that community, not only because I like the music and it's fun and I think hardcore is in kind of a renaissance period, but because I can bring my tastes and skills and stuff to that scene. Hardcore used to have a lot of bad design, and I do think it's also in a commercial boom though, sonically, and like it's getting very popular, but also design wise, there's all this such dope album art coming out of that scene lately. And there's also all these cool artists that are in bands that are also designers that work in that scene, and I think that has helped lifted it up. Like, shout out Ridge from New World Man and Painted Truth. I met him recently at Chain Reaction, and we've been chatting online a little bit, and it was cool to just meet someone who not only is shreds in some dope hardcore bands, but is a dope designer, and he's made album art for Knock Loose and stuff like that. And there's this other designer, I think Alex something, but his thing's like Alex NYC on Instagram. He's in this band Combust. They're really dope, and he's made a bunch of merch design and album art for hardcore and other things. And I'm trying to get more involved in that scene as a designer and as a creative, and at the very least, just from a community standpoint. And I think if you can find something, if you're a photographer, if you're a designer, if you're an artist, if you can find something that you really like and blend your interests together and create that nice like collaboration and cohesion and bring your skills into a community where they're needed and where they're, appreciated, it's really dope. If you're into cars, like start taking pictures of cars, going to car meetups, things like that. If you're really into video games, design for streamers, design for YouTube channels, things like that. If you're into fashion, start making merch designs, start designing for clothing companies, even if it's mock-up stuff. Like, I'm doing that hardcore series where I'm designing album art every single week for one of my favorite hardcore bands, A through Z. And a lot of that is it's just self-initiated concept work. And some of it is going to potentially turn into real projects down the road. I've gotten a lot of follows and messages from these bands and this and that. And who knows? Like, and if it doesn't, whatever. It's fun concept work that I'm creating for the sake of getting better and showing my respect and love for a community that I like outside of the design world and bringing my interests together. I think it's a good way to find people that you like too. When you find someone who not only likes design, but a certain type of music or a certain type of clothing or game or TV show, hobby, whatever, it brings you together, and it just expands on like this cool career. And I don't know. It's a cool thing to have two interests blend together. And I'm stoked to see where it takes me with that, and continuing to, grow in those two different disciplines and bring them together. Another thing I want to talk about is not all good. It's not all positive and collaboration and good times in the design world. I've actually been in kind of a lull, or what do you want to call it? Dry spell when it comes to client work. I have had a very fortunate, quarter Q4. Q4 has been very fortunate for the Jesse Nyberg business. In terms of content, I've had some cool sponsored stuff, some brand deals on both Instagram, YouTube, and a lot of stuff moving, YouTube channels growing, this and that. And that's an amazing feeling because it's something that I always wanted, where I could take on less clients and only the ones I really enjoyed because I was making money from this other content stuff. However, now that that's the case and client work has slowed down quite a bit, it is giving me a little bit of, imposter syndrome, because it's like I want to be a designer and talk to you about the design world and be respected in that sector. And I need the clients and the notoriety and the growth in that field, I feel like, to continue to speak on it. That way it's, valid, and I'm not just only a person that talks about design or does it for fun. It's someone that's working in the thing. And I understand that putting energy into those two things is going to change the balance of power. And a lot of stuff may be content sometimes and client work sometimes. But yeah, it's been pretty slow. And I'm trying to, I don't know if it's the Christmas times. A lot of times in the holidays, it slows down, I think, because you try to, these corporations and stuff, you email them in December and it's basically like, good luck, you're going to get an email back in like January. And I get it. If I'm an employee at a business in the holidays, like, I'm fucking off too. I'm not worried about talking to some fucking design kid who wants to do a YouTube integration or whatever it may be, or a client, project, this and that. But it can be a little bit stressful, and I feel like I'm okay monetarily right now. Like, I'm not in a panic mode where I have enough money for, a few months here and there, full transparency. But it is like, you do want to know that there's going to be something coming in the next one. You want to look for projects while you're already eating, not when you're in this kind of panic mode. And I think it'll all start to kick off a little bit more in 2024. And thank God for all of you and this amazing YouTube channel and the other avenues of revenue that I can generate, because it really does help for when the months are slow when it comes to freelance work. And that's why, like, I advocate for being a freelancer. I think it's an amazing thing, but I do want people to go into that stuff with a little bit of caution. Some of the most talented designers I know have been in similar positions where at times it's slow, and not everyone has another side thing to help subsidize some of the revenue. So thank you for all the amazing support over here on the channel and in other things that I do. So we'll get through that. That'll be figured out. All those things, trying to balance them has been a little bit hectic lately. I feel like, trying to find new client work, trying to create the best possible YouTube videos, and doing personal work, art stuff, the stuff that feeds my soul and my creative, stuff that gives me creative energy, not takes it away. Balancing those three things, those three main cores of my business or my life, personal art, client work, and this YouTube channel, is hard, because in all honesty, I could dedicate a full work week just to this channel. And sometimes I have to do that, or it feels that way. Maybe not for videos like this, but ones that take a lot more scripting and editing and doing the actual design work. I feel like that's the hard part about being a graphic design creator, is you not only have to think of a good idea for the video, a good editing style, a good script, the design work should probably be good too. And sometimes I feel like it not always is, because a lot of your energy is going into the entertainment aspect of it, or the teaching, or the explaining of the process, that it can be hard to really get down on your best creative ideas. I do my best work when I can just play music and chill, and I don't have to record the process, or it doesn't have to be interesting from start to finish. It can be sporadic and kind of that crazy artist, chaos mode. That's the mode I really like working in, and why I don't record a lot of videos about client projects that I do, even though I think at times they would be interesting. One, it's hard to get that seamless process from start to finish, and I think the documenting sometimes interferes with the final outcome. And two, sometimes these things don't go live for a while, so I'll just be sitting on a video because I can't even announce it. And what if I don't like it by then? It was a waste of time. So at least if I don't like a video now that I did in the past, it's already there, and I just deal with that. Where was I going with this? Kind of a little tangent. Oh, balancing all that stuff, trying to do client work, personal work, and this channel. Each of those could have their own thing. I'll spend a whole day or two on some concept work for the hardcore series, or a poster just to post on Instagram. Then I have some client projects. Then I have some brand deals or YouTube. And like I said earlier, it's not like it's all cracking right now with the client work, but having all those sectors, it's hard to dedicate time to each of them, writing the newsletter as well. I feel like lately, I wrote about this in my newsletter actually on the last issue. If you want to check that out, I write that every week. It's in the description. It's called Glue's Letter. It's kind of similar format to this, but more one or two dedicated things each time. But anyway, I feel like I used to be so productive and so good at not good at maybe, but better at context switching and working on client work, newsletter, YouTube, podcast, personal work, working out my schedule to do all those things, especially through COVID, because I was just in grind mode. But now that I feel like I'm trying to give myself a little more of a healthier lifestyle outside of just design, in that schedule now is cooking, eating, trying to eat better, working out, going rock climbing, spending more time in real life with friends, going to concerts. I think me having a more fulfilling life as a human and not just as a creative or a designer, it's a net positive, but you only have so much time and energy to put into anything. So some of the other things have come down. So maybe I feel like I've been struggling to get out a newsletter every week and a video every week or two and a work on client work. It's so many things you feel like you don't have enough time in the day sometimes, especially with this daylight savings over here in California. Man, sometimes it's like 4:45 and it's dark, and that's not when you're working. That's like you want to stop working when it gets dark. So I like when it stays light till 7 or 8 because I feel like sometimes I'll work that late and get more done. Whereas now I'll work till it's night. I don't know. I think I don't feel like I have that same level of grind mode. Maybe I was in like a manic kind of burnout state before. I've reflected on this before. Maybe the way I'm doing it now feels weird because it's normal. And how I was working before was pushing myself too far. But there's just so many things I want to do, and it makes me feel very like scatterbrained, and it's hard to switch between all these different disciplines in any given week. Someone commented too on my newsletter saying, maybe you should hire out, but I don't know what would I do? Like, these are all things I want to do. So maybe I could hire an editor for like simple videos and stuff, but I don't know, man. I think my control graphic design brain would kick in trying to hiring out, and I'd be a terrible client, and just feel like whatever, I'll just have to do it myself. I think a lot of creatives, the stuff that they hate about clients and working sometimes is the same way that they may act to other people, because they have that kind of need to have it perfect, I don't want to end that on just saying, I feel like I'm less productive and I don't have anything to offer on how to fix that. So one tip that I've been doing that I kind of forgot about, it was something that I used to do. And so when you're working on a project, something that isn't going to just be finished in one day. Let's say you're working on a big logo design project, a big branding project, album art, a complex poster design, whatever it may be, even some kind of personal artwork. Let's say you're working on it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. When you're going to stop working on Monday, don't wait till you get to a point where you're too tired to keep working on it, you're burnt out, you feel like you don't have any more ideas or any direction you want to go in. Stop at a point where you feel energized and you almost like where you want to do more, like how leave it on a cliffhanger. Leave your work on a cliffhanger. Like when you come back the next day and you sit at your desk, you'll have the energy to just hop right back into it because you'll be wanting to get back into the thing that you were working on before. Just when you found the perfect font and layout, cut it right there, because you're going to come back in energized and ready to perfect it and tweak it, and you know where you can start. Instead of coming back with like, oh yeah, I forgot where I was with this. I don't know what colors I want, this and that. I think it's nice because it gives you that creative momentum. Once you get back into it, it could be like a little 5-minute thing you have to perfect. But since you know what it is, you'll start working and you won't have that decision fatigue, and you'll just be able to keep going, I think, from there. Once you start working on something, even for 5-10 minutes, that can feel a lot more accessible than, oh, I have to work on this all day. But once you start that 5-10 minutes, I feel like the momentum flows and you can get into that kind of deep work or flow state or however you like working, really. But It makes it easier to not feel like you have to come back to this big task you have to work on. I would even do this if the boss was not, on me about finishing something one day. When I worked as an employee, I'd leave myself a good stopping point at 5 p.m. That way when I got back at 9 o'clock, I was energized and ready to work all the way till lunch or whatever. So just something that I used to do and I've been trying to do more. And I don't remember where I heard it from, but whoever gave me that idea originally, thank you. And if you know, give them credit in the comments because I completely forgot. So someone was asking me on Instagram about experimental design work. So in the grand scheme of things, I don't think I create the most experimental and groundbreaking work, especially compared to some of my super talented friends. But I do think I'm more placed sometimes in that experimental or analog or anti-design kind of category or whatever of work because of all the more traditional graphic design work and UI stuff and just bare bones, clean corporate brand identity. I don't work that much like that anymore. So someone asked, can having that experimental design work hurt your portfolio? Because I do have a lot of that. And I wanted to talk about the difference between commercial friendly work and experimental stuff and how it can benefit you in different niches. Having the cool punk, grunge, analog, collage, experimental type stuff in your portfolio can be really helpful for getting more of those types of clients, building out your style more as like an artist and separating yourself and making your own lane. However, it can hurt you in the corporate world where you want these clean, curated, types of brand identities and professional projects. Same vice versa. If your thing's all filled with super clean, minimalist logos, sans serifs, UI stuff, this and that, you're not going to get hired for the hardcore show, or the album art. If your stuff's all filled with that, you're not going to get hired probably to work for Google unless it's like an artist collaboration thing. So, can experimental work hurt your portfolio? Yes, but it can also help your portfolio. The same way the clean, more classic stuff can help, but also hurt for the people who are looking for something a little more avant-garde or whatever you want to call it. So you kind of have three options. You go all in on one and you bite the bullet in the other industry, either one, clean or experimental. We'll put it into those two things. 2, you put them both in your portfolio and show the diversity that you can work in and just hope that one seeing the other type of thing doesn't interfere with each other, like Google seeing a crazy punk like hardcore thing with like violent imagery doesn't make them not want to hire you, and then those people seeing like a boring blue white collar thing, a tech bro thing, not wanting to hire you in that sense. So you have that option. Or 3, you have this option that I think is a really good idea that my friend Harry Vincent has done. Harry is a mad talented designer who creates this amazing imagery of like kind of almost sacrilegious, like mystical and like weird themes throughout his work, but it's all consistently built with this nice thread of beautifully, kerned serifs and sans serifs and this amazing reddish orange color that he uses throughout everything. And similar to like how I said I'm trying to use the orange more, and with that person synthetic, Harry's dedication to that color is nothing short of amazing. It's been all the way through. They have that, world of them and what has gotten them hired for interesting projects. And what I've seen that they've done recently is they have all this cool commercial work, right? Branding work with agencies and studios. They separated those two things to show, like, if it's a commercial project, they'll send them that portfolio, Harry Vincent / commercial or whatever it is. And it has all this really cool stuff and shows the diversity that they can work in, like, not just the red color. It has, colorful illustrations, clean professional stuff, brand campaigns, brand friendly stuff. And then they have Harry Vincent personal or a main portfolio, which is quite honestly not brand friendly or whatever at all. It's a lot of this stuff that people would probably be worried to include in their things, but it's the exact thing those, goth or alt communities would love. So they can separate it and show their interest. And obviously the commercial people can find that other stuff and decide not to hire them. But I think it was a good way of blending the two worlds and having two separate portfolios almost. So if you're just starting out, you may not have enough work or established style or identity to separate it like that. But if you do, I don't think it's a bad idea. And speaking of that, like what should you put in your portfolio? I think a lot of college students ask me that kind of stuff. And what I can tell you from experience is put the type of stuff in it that you want to be doing and the stuff that interests you, and do work that will separate you from other people. Everyone and their mom is going to be applying to jobs after graduation with portfolios like this. Rebranding, Facebook, rebranding this, rebranding that, fake concept logo for this. I redesigned the Headspace app, the Instagram app. And that stuff is cool, but doing personal projects that are a little bit more stand out and obscure, I think will help you a lot. Or even just having real client work in there. A lot of people in school, they won't have client work or self-initiated projects. They'll just have those rebranded this and that school projects that were given to them. And that will start to lower their chances of getting hired. It's already super competitive. I've talked about this in another video where I applied to hundreds of jobs when I first graduated. Eventually got a few, but it's competitive. And one of the things that a lot of the employers admired most was my personal work, my poster design stuff, my collage stuff I was just doing for Instagram, self-initiated, 30 days logos and 30 logos in 30-day challenges, whatever, stuff like that. Like, it's important to show you have that drive and you're not just doing something because it was an assignment or because other people are doing it. Even the client work, as long as it's good and you think it's something that you want to do again or be recognized for, put that in there. It's impressive if you're just out of college having great client projects. That's really cool. I know all these talented designers who are very young and they've worked with big bands, brands, big corporations like tech companies, this and that. Having that in your resume, miles ahead of someone who has only done a fictional piece of work for that company. So that's really cool. If you have that to give you that unfair advantage, definitely put it in there. However that may have come about. Don't get too wrapped up in it either. Just put in the stuff that you love and the stuff you want to be doing, and only put, your 8 to 10 best projects. I try to cycle through my portfolio every here and there and replace the 8th best thing, with whatever one comes next, and it just changes the hierarchy. I think the one thing I want to talk about before we wrap up here, if you're still here, I appreciate you, and let me know in the comments what you think about this format. If it's something that you think is valuable and you like this more candid, laid back chatting style, it's something you can just listen to and watch. And sadly, if it does perform well in the analytics, then I will consider doing it again. Maybe this can be a reoccurring monthly thing, candid thoughts from a designer, episode 1, 2, 3, blah, 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 and so on. I want to talk about some of my goals for 2024. By the time this comes out, it's probably early mid to late December. We're getting close to Christmas. We're getting close to the new year. And I want to put some goals down that are to hold myself accountable and set it in stone for some of all you to hear and maybe see come to fruition. Firstly, I've been doing that hardcore series. If you follow me on Instagram, goals of that is to not only get better at album art design and engage with that community, but to be hired to do more work in that world, not just hardcore music, but the music industry in general. I know sometimes it's not all it's cracked up to be and the pay can be wishy-washy, but I do want to create some vinyl record art. Shout out this dope one from MS Paint right here I got recently. Seeing cool album art like that and getting to hold it physically is always so inspiring to me. And I want to get the opportunity for a band to create that myself and do the liner notes and do the sticker and the packaging and the gatefold and the whole system, So if you're in a band and you want some album art that's going to be pressed on vinyl, or know any dope bands looking for it, tell them to get in contact with me. That's one of the goals for 2024. 100,000 on YouTube. There's about 70,000 of you right now who are subscribed to this channel so far. And that's insane to me already. I think we grew about 40K this year in 2023. So thank you. I mad appreciate that. And according to those numbers, we're on track to hit 100K in 2024. So as long as we keep pushing, I think we'll get it. And I'm excited, selfishly to get that cool little plaque. I think that'll be a cool moment when it happens. So 100K on here, and thank you to everyone who's already subscribed. And if you haven't, you know what to do right now. And then finish the hardcore series. That A through Z hardcore series is going to go on till probably the middle early of 2024, because I'm doing it every week, A through Z. It's not a crazy task, but holding myself accountable to doing one every week has been hard at times when I'm busy and with the holidays and stuff. So hopefully I can finish that and stay consistent and have a nice completed piece of work for my portfolio or to showcase online or whatever. What do you guys want to do in 2024? I'm curious to hear your goals as a designer or as an artist or just as a human. Feel free to drop them in the comments. Everyone, put your goals for 2024 down here and, come back and see, next December if they worked out. Maybe I'll even make a video next year talking about how mine did. And if anyone in the comments writes some cool goals down here, I'll follow up with you next year and we'll see how you all did as well. That's all I got for you for now. Have a good rest of your week, whatever day I end up putting this out, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.